following presentation is part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network.
Welcome to the Bombadcast.
What's up, Bombad fam? How are you doing? It is good to be here on this lovely Bombad Saturday. And it is a good Bombad Saturday to be a part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network. And there is a show for every ilk of Star Wars fan. There are, if you like us, you'll love all of our friends. Seriously. Pete Fletzer with Around the Galaxy, Postcards from the Galaxy's Edge. We've got Holo Chronicles with Josh and Andy. Beyond the Blast Doors Live, the first live Star Wars YouTube show. Guys, so much is going on here right now. Not to mention bounty hunting, all that stuff. And if you like any of what we're doing, consider going and joining our Patreon and giving us a little bit of your hard-earned silicax crystals. And that way we can make you more content. We can continue to do the cool stuff that you guys like. And you get extra stuff. What is better than extra stuff? I don't know. Because that's pretty much all I live for is extra swag. So swag, extra content, all that kind of stuff. It's all at Beyond the Blast Doors Patreon, and it is also on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. Go check BeyondTheBlastDoors.com for all of your Star Wars news and just the happenings in the galaxy far, far away. And don't forget to follow us at Bombadcast. Don't forget to follow on Twitter, and don't forget to follow all our other friends. So just go and you can find out how to do that over there. But you know what? I'm done. I'm done talking about this. Because it's time. It is time to bring in my good friend, my compadre, my, dare I say, better half? Decent half. Scotty J-Ro. Scotty.
How are you doing, Jerry? I am the Rick McCallum to your George Lucas. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes, that's
what is
very
going
true.
on, bud?
Pretty good. Yes, pretty good. Sorry, I was gonna go on I thought we were gonna do like a whole Rick McCallum, George Lucas bit for a second there. I thought you were gonna be my yes man.
Not here, because I wanna give you just a moment. Okay, before we bring our next guest in, I'm gonna give you a moment to kind of tell the wonderful listeners where you've been, because it's been like 5 episodes, and Jerry's just been AWOL. Jerry, I believe, went and served a term in Iraq or something. I don't know. Jerry, where have you been?
No, well, nothing like that for sure. All I can say is that let's just say combos are a hell of a drug. No. So I am back. I know I almost was gonna start it up like that, what's up, baby birds? What's up? It's me. It's your boy, the Cannon Junkie, which is what I do. So I will now. What's up, baby birds? Here we are. It's me. It's the Cannon Junkie. I'm back. Don't worry. Daddy's back. I know mommy got mad at you sometimes, but daddy's back. Now the fun's back. Okay, here we are. Yeah, you can go ahead. You can laugh, Scotty. Well, I mean, a lot of you, if you follow us on Twitter and stuff, I kind of did a little bit of what would you call kind of opened up a little bit of my life onto Twitter, which is sometimes it could be a good or bad thing. But I've had a lot going on this year. I know a lot of people have had a lot going on this year, so I wanted to share a little bit of why I've been kind of AWOL, because it's honestly been, I feel bad for being so absent, because that's where I want to be. But, then I've got so much, other stuff going on in the world and things like that. Everyone's got stuff going on this year. And then, here we are. But, if you guys have seen that, if you haven't, my wife and I are going to be splitting pretty soon. It's a mutual divorce and stuff. And so we are ending that, beginning a new chapter and everything. We're very committed to just being the best Jedi masters we can to Ella. I almost said masters, and that is not the right word for how to treat your kid. We
are her owners.
I was trying to be Qui-Gon, and I went full Watto for a second there. I hear I feed her. I feed her every now and then. Can you beat to that? But that it's I've got that going on, Scotty, and then we've both recently had some loved ones pass in our families and stuff, and my grandma actually lived a long, happy life, passed away because of COVID, and so we'll get into this in a second. We can use this as a segue if you want to. If you want to ask me more questions, that is fine. First.
No. I think it's important to address this. We've had listeners that have been probably listening to this since day one. And, we were two bushy-eyed, bright-eyed kids when we first started this endeavor. And,
bushy-eyed
now, this is the 75th episode. We're 75 episodes deep,
Holy cow, this is our 75th?
This is our 75th. And I think it's important to know that we've gone through so much and things have changed. And I think it's really important to address that. And I'm glad that you can be open and honest with our listeners. That's a super important thing, and anyone that loves listening and loves being a part of our community would know that you're going through some stuff. And, I think it's wonderful that you said it out loud. That's an important thing. And, Jerry unfortunately lost his grandmother to COVID last week. And I wanted to kind of bring in our next guest with this kind of segue, but Jerry, we have another guest joining us. I don't know if you know this. We do a reoccurring guest by the name of Eric.
We got part of the Bombad crew, the extended Bombad crew.
Master Cheesem himself.
Master Cotterman.
Master Cotterman. Yes, we've got.
Welcome back, Cotterman.
Yes, exactly. What's going on, Ian? How you doing?
Ooh. Is this reference lost on you guys? Are you old enough?
No, I know that reference.
Ooh. Sorry. Continue. Please continue, Eric. I'm sorry.
Yes, Eric, how are you?
Dude, I'm doing great. Wasn't that Mando episode 6 when Luke Skywalker showed up?
No. And it said directed by George Walton Lucas at the very end.
George Walton. I thought it was Wilbur.
No, it's definitely not Wilbur.
I hope that I'm right. We will see. Thumbs up. Hit the like button if I was right.
There you go.
No, Eric, we had to bring you on for this one thing in particular because Eric and I shared a collective narrative as the what was the guy's name? Dang it. Season 1. What was Werner Herzog's character's name? The client. As the client would say, we shall share the end of our collective narrative. So Eric and I we got to watch the whole Lucasfilm slate announcement last Thursday, and everyone thought it was going to be just another phone call where we all sit and go, oh, they gave us a date for when they're filming Kenobi. Nope. This was like, here's this, and the dates are coming out and the years are going out, who's directing and what it's about. Here's the logos. Like, we've never gotten that much. And the reason why I wanted to start this off is pretty important is because Eric and I were watching it live, right? And Jerry, what was happening to you? Did you think there was going to be anything from today, that day's release? And I don't know if you could tell, but I'm still hoarse from me screaming. If you haven't seen the reaction video, go watch the reaction video. But Jerry, when that whole thing was announced, what was going on with you? I know you were boarding a plane. Did you think anything of it?
Did I think anything of the announcements? Or like, no.
Okay, or like before?
here's the, like we were getting all kinds of people talking about, like, I think, like, was it Newsweek that was like, I think they're gonna drop some big news, or was it like there was a big publication I remember that I'm like, okay, there could be something to this. They're gonna announce something, but I don't know what it is, and I did not know it would be like 15 shows and 28 movies and a breakfast cereal. So there's a breakfast cereal for everything, honestly. But yeah, okay. So I knew the call was happening. Like, I was boarding my plane like at 4:30 Eastern time, which is when the call started.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Eric,
and it was
had rushed over here. I had it all pulled up on the TV, and we sat together for an hour and a half, like just waiting for anything. And they announced some weird stuff, but like you were getting on a plane, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah, I was getting on a plane. I was, I was again flying down from my grandmother's funeral, but I was at that time connecting from Grand Rapids to Chicago, which is just a 30-minute flight over the lake. I found out.
Wow,
so that was interesting. It's kind of weird. It's like, oh, here we are. All right, but with flying, you get a taxi to your place. When you get on the plane, it's like a ton of time. So by the time I landed and everything, it'd been an hour and a half or whatever, and I get off the plane, and then I'm like having to find my gate and all this kind of stuff,
All of it. I know what you're talking about.
All that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. It was dinner time. I was friggin' hungry, I had like an hour and a half layover. I was like, I got to find something to eat. And then I sat down and I looked and I was like, holy bantha balls, man. Yeah. It is everything. It was all of the stuff, and it was just like boom, boom. I think the first thing that popped up for me was the Patty Jenkins thing, and I was like,
oh, wow.
Why the hell is Star Wars retweeting this Patty Jenkins, like, rollerblading on a tarmac? Like, what the heck is going on? Was this just before I landed? Like, what happened? And then, so I had to like hurry up and I'm like, okay, I got my food. I'm going to get all I didn't watch it, and I had my notifications turned off. I was trying to I wanted to be surprised with all this stuff. I didn't want people between them like, can you believe that we got all of this? Can you believe we got a C-3PO action series? Blah, blah, blah. I can't believe it's rated MA, TVMA. But like, I got my little mini, almost a Star Wars, but Chicago deep dish pizza, like my travel deep dish pizza, travel size. I sat down in my seat in the vast Chicago O'Hare Airport.
Oh, it's a great
and
airport.
I put my headphones on. I started like looking at some of the stuff, and I couldn't believe how many logos there were. And I'm like, what? Like, what? And like, I thought people were joking about the Ahsoka stuff. I'm like, there's no way they're going to do an Ahsoka show. Like, that would be like, they're going to do like an anime, like a Rebel show or something and stuff.
Yeah.
I honestly, I didn't, because I haven't been on a couple weeks. I honestly wasn't believing. I'm not just going to sit here and believe like, oh, well, if a big character comes on the show, that means they're going to get their own show. But little did I know.
That's exactly
kind of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's so much though, but it's crazy to like, it's like I flew over Lake Michigan. That's all I did. A 30-minute flight over Lake Michigan, plus taxiing and finding my gate and all that stuff. And by the time I landed and got to my seat with my cheap butt like pizza, it was actually pretty good. I'll say that. It wasn't like traditional deep dish, but it was still good.
Yeah.
It had completely changed, like the entire landscape. The landscape had grown, and there were mountains and valleys and wonderful, beautiful lakes that take 30 minutes to fly across.
Did you watch any of the stream now, or did you watch the coverage that we had?
I watched. I'll tell you, Scotty. I watched. This is the part that I was like, really, because that whole week I was out of commission because my grandma passed away on Sunday. And I'm like, okay, I kind of want to go, but can I? Is it going to be safe? And then like my parents are like, well, we'll help you get the tickets to come down, all that stuff. I was like, okay, I can fly down. Working all that out within like 3 days, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay, it's a lot. And so I didn't know you guys were going to actually be live streaming.
Now let me tell you this. This is typical, and I love Dave and I love Josh.
Yeah.
But like that morning, I was like, we got to get something together because this could be big. And thank God we did. I mean, Eric was there the whole time. Eric was literally.
I love that it was you and Eric. I saw because I will say, I was just gonna say, I wish that I could have been a part of that stream. And I'm going to watch it. I just haven't had time with all the stuff that was going on this weekend. But I did pull up the highlights that Dave made, and I showed it to my dad, and my dad was dying. He was dying. He was like, "This is what it is. This is what it's all about," or whatever. Like, what were you saying?
I said, my best line is, everyone loves this. Even my students have brought this up to me. They're like, Star Wars anime. I was like, I don't know why.
The one that I was like, that's the one where I was like, oh man, Scotty's just like high on his excitement right now.
Yes. Oh, dude. Okay, so Eric, what was that like watching me? Because, okay, so for anyone that doesn't know, Jerry was there for the reaction video, the million view reaction video.
I'm the shoulders that he's shaking
in
front of him. Yeah.
And Eric was there for several other announcements. I mean, High Republic stuff. Eric's been there for all the stuff at home. But Jerry, I mean, we did not expect as a fandom to get Celebration and D23 in 25 minutes. Like,
for real.
Usually, for anyone that's not familiar with Celebration, you would have gotten one of those shows announced after a whole day. So it would have been like, Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron. You would have been like, that's a whole Saturday of announcements. And you're like, no way. I can't believe they just announced that. All right. So then Ahsoka would have been a different day. And then whatever else, Rangers would have been a different day. All these things would have been just different days of announcements. Right. So here we are getting it all in 25 minutes. And I mean, Eric, what was that like? Because we were together, and I think we both were just in absolute shock.
Yeah, I was sweating, dude. I felt like I was your brother for a second. Like, it was incredible. And like, I typically am not like Scotty in terms of like, I'm not an enthusiast when I was sixth row during the Rise of Skywalker trailer, I was hyped. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't crying and like fist pumping. I don't know. I think I was really tired. It was like 11 in the morning. But no, this was totally different, especially since it was in the evening. And it was incredible. Like, Scott kept saying, like, dude, this is like Apple level. This is like Apple level. But like, I think it's like, obviously, after the whole thing, I'm sure you changed your mind. It's like way above like an Apple. Oh, yeah. It was very set up like an Apple conference. But literally, we'll get into this, I guess, in a bit, but like all I've wanted since 2012 was for Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen to come back. And it's happening.
Oh, man.
And I have a tattoo of Hayden on my back now. So
no way. Did you wait? You've been burying the lead since I met you in 2019 at Celebration Chicago. Okay. Have you had it since then, or did you get it right after this announcement?
No, like second the announcements happened, I left Scott's with Katie, who got her ears pierced, and I got Hayden as Anakin on my back. So it's still drying up, but I'll show you
like
guys
that.
The next time.
Did you get like one of those like temporary tattoos from like 2002, like tattooed as like a tramp stamp right up there? It says
That'd
like Anakin.
Good.
With
it's
like a weird like swirly behind it or something.
Oh, that's funny.
If the show's good enough, like straight up, I'll do it as a joke. Like not a real one, like a fake one.
I'm going to suggest, and whoever is going with us to Celebration Anaheim in a couple years, Scotty, I'm still on this. I think you and I at least should get Stay Bombad tats.
I'm thinking about it. I haven't got a tattoo yet.
I'm gonna get it, man.
We'll more than likely, I'm sure something will work out to where we can both do it.
That's gonna be like my
same needle. It'll be fine.
Right here. Just be like, Stay Bombad! Yeah, you know? Be badass, man.
Really, really committed. No, like, you got to realize this, though. And Jerry, I know you grew up with a huge fan of the prequels, and I know you had the same experience when Revenge of the Sith ended. It was it. Like, and it was done. We could not get any more. And Eric and I mean, you can watch the reaction video. It is tremendous.
That was fantastic.
We literally, and I didn't cry because I knew it wasn't going to be an emotional thing, but the fact that they confirmed it and they didn't hide it, like I thought they would have been like, yeah, no, maybe he's coming, maybe he's not. But like to show him, and like fans will be, what's the exact phrasing, Eric? It's like
fans will be excited to hear that Hayden Christensen will be reprising the role. And I'm like throwing fists. Scott's like, no way, no way.
Eric, can I say that I really enjoyed that you were there with Scotty. And honestly, like, that is the way it felt. Like, when I was there with Scotty, like, that was like the first day I was hanging out full on with Scotty and Katie.
Yeah.
Was that day. Right. I knew I had talked to Scotty for maybe like 10 minutes the day before.
Yeah.
And then he's like grabbing him. And that, what you said earlier, like, I felt like I was your brother for a little bit. Like, yeah, for real. Like, that is the feeling and stuff. That's the magic of Scotty Jero. But I will say, you had some great reactions in there, man. I was so glad you got to be a part of that because I did. I saw the fist pumping. I think the Hayden announcement, the Obi-Wan Hayden announcement, was like the first one I saw, and I was like, wait, what? Like, is that that's Star Wars? Is that one of those like dumb people who puts their changes their avatar to the Star Wars avatar? I fucking hate that. Sorry, Mom.
The best one the Ruin Johnson had that. For a while.
If you could beep that out, beat those little dank ferret. I hate those guys.
Pretty good. So it was weird because, and here we are. We're done with the sequel trilogy. We're done with this, almost done with the season of Mandalorian. Clone Wars is finished. Everything. We had a nice, finale to it. Now we're getting all this new stuff. And like, I mean, really, the Hayden Christensen announcement was the craziest thing in the world because it was just so many, all these rumors we had heard. And Lucasfilm has been so quiet for a year and a half. All of that was just taken off our shoulders just in that 25-minute period. And it was amazing. So much speculation, so much new stuff, like the Acolyte. What? Are you kidding me?
Oh, dude.
Rogue Squadrons, Rangers of the Republic. Like, there's so many things that we just like, boom, boom, boom. We just did not expect, right? And I'm so glad that Eric could be here for it because I have no other friend, like personal, I talk on the phone with, see him maybe every other weekend, friend that is on this level of like, reads every article, talks about everything that was dropped, literally, right? Whatever it is, I could talk to you and my network friends about it, but I don't get to see y'all. But Eric and I kept talking about the entire night how thankful that we have each other to do that because we have friends that love sports and that love athletics, and they love it to the point where we are what they are to sports is like what Star Wars is to us, and people don't really get that. And Eric and I have this weird connection. Well, we 100%, man, are mutually understandable of it. And Eric, I mean, like we've talked about it for years, but you never lose with Star Wars, right? I mean, come on, you just don't lose,
Yeah, I mean, you may fall and trip, but you never really lose. Like,
nope,
right?
There's I mean, especially from this point on, like that's the beautiful thing about this ongoing timeline that they got going on. Like, if you don't like Rangers of the New Republic, which like, why wouldn't you like that? It's John and Dave, but
is that? Do you think that's what it's going to be?
Oh no, it is. Well,
no. Oh, Jerry,
you don't know this?
I haven't read anything about any of it. Again, I got to see.
You want to say it?
I would freaking love it if it was. I would freaking love it if it was.
So Jerry,
Ahsoka,
and Rangers of the New Republic are in the Mandalorian timeline, and they're both being executive produced by both of them. But Dave's writing Ahsoka and most likely going to direct all of it.
Yeah.
And then I think they're both doing what they did for this show with Rangers. I think it's their show.
Right.
So I just think it'd be awesome.
Well, hold on. And Mando. So one thing you might have missed was that all those shows are going to coincide to a giant like climactic event. So the event
I've seen the video of her saying that or something. And by the way, I love the shot of Kathleen Kennedy with all the stuff around her because it's almost like screw you, angry nerds.
Yes,
look at all this.
I love that. And like, I mean, the fact that we've got so much in the works, and like, I mean, we were all there when. Before TLJ came out, we had the Ryan Johnson article that was like, Ryan Johnson gets a whole trilogy. And we're like, what? This movie's going to be the greatest movie ever. And of course, everyone in this chat loves it, but some people don't like it. And like, you know, Benioff and Wise. I mean, we've had all kinds of slip ups with Lucasfilm, not in a bad way. They just had creative differences. And here we are with these new announcements, and they are official, and they are not going to change, and they are done in the works. I mean, like, literally, that's what made this so mind blowing, is that we are fully confirmed the next 5 years, we're getting 10 new things. 10 new things. Jerry, what was that? What, Eric? What did you want to say?
What did you say, Eric? I want to hear what you have to say.
Only like 8 of them were announced, right? Or like 7 or something?
7 were announced. 7. 2 movies, 5 shows. 2
only
movies,
7, really?
Yes.
What the heck, man? I thought all of it was announced. I haven't even counted.
They started off the whole thing with Lucasfilm will have 10 new announcements today or something like that. 10 new Star Wars films to announce. And then literally they announced the Indiana Jones Willow. I guess they did technically announce 10 things, but it wasn't 10 Star Wars
from Lucasfilm. No. Indiana Jones Willow. They did City of Blood and Bone or whatever that is.
And
Willow. It was the title card. I was watching the screen the whole time you were on the stream. It said 10 Star Wars properties, like 10 Star Wars shows in the future. That's what the title card was. That's why I'm saying they only announced 7 shows, I think. Or that might be with the movie. That might be with the movies included. That I think the 2 movies weren't included in that thing as well.
Yeah.
So Scott, I think I might be crazy. This just came to me. But what if you get like Scotty's like dream and you get the Star Wars talk show?
Oh my god!
Like in canon, I don't know exactly how that works.
Well, they did that with they did that with like that show on Disney Plus, like that has all the celebrities show up on there. That's made by Jim Henson's people. They already have something like that, which is really weird.
Right, but I'm talking about like the Empire has like a podcast and Thor shows up on it, and he's like, "Yeah, I just want peace and prosperity and." I'm really into art. Like it's just that's
amazing.
I don't know if they would ever go like that wacky. I could see Marvel going that wacky, but I don't know about Star Wars. Star Wars, me and Scott say this all the time, but she said it more than once, but this really is a new era for Star Wars going forward, and I think it's going to be a very unforgettable.
Oh yeah,
absolutely, man!
For all of us. And
we're going to be losing our minds.
Yeah, and we've got chapter 1 right now with Mando. Like this is the beginning. This is the Phantom Menace of the new era.
It is.
Right?
Well, that's what I want to segue into. So today's discussion, I'm going to pull up the banner real quick just for the sake of showing it again. It's about the acquisition, right? The Lucasfilm Disney acquisition. Okay, so the exact date. All right, now. I was in high school. Eric was in high school. I mean, Eric, you must have been a senior. Yeah. And Jerry, I don't know where you were with your life, but the exact date was October 30th.
One foot in the grave.
Yeah. 1 foot in the grave. Maybe. So October 30th, 2012. What do you remember from this announcement? Like the exact announcement was Disney to acquire Lucasfilm Limited Production for $4 billion. What was like the first thought you had? Because Jerry, you might have more of a vivid thought, but were you in college? I don't even know. Where were you at?
I mean, I was technically in college still. But October, gosh, I think that I don't honestly remember exactly where I was. I just remember this knowledge coming to be, and I was, me and Allison were dating at the time, and it was kind of like this thing where all of a sudden I was like full back on into Star Wars. Not that I had ever left. One of the things, one of our first things when we were like, dating, we were like, a couple or whatever, we went to see The Phantom Menace 3D.
Oh, 2011. Yep.
And like that was the first time she'd ever seen a Star Wars movie in like the theaters and stuff like that, and I was excited to see the other ones in the theater again. It reminded me of when they released them in 97. But then everything got kind of canceled. I think maybe they canceled it before we found out, if I'm remembering correctly. And I can't remember. And I still worked at the movie theater at this time too. Mm-hmm. And so I found out, and honestly, I probably was at my job at the movie theater, and one of my buddies, like my buddy Phil or Jay, shout out to you guys if you don't watch, who am I kidding? But they probably came down and were like, dude, Disney just bought Star Wars or something, and I don't remember the exact thing, but I remember like that it was like for a couple of years, I was just like counting down the days. Here we go. Oh, there's new news. We're looking, and that's when I found Episode 7 News. Net.
Star Wars 7 News. Yeah, that's
Star Wars 7 News Net.
Yeah, dude, that was the early days of Star Wars Newsnet. I never forget that. I was in college too. But anyway,
I was in the cantina too. How many of us were in that cantina talking?
I didn't chat, but
I tried, but I didn't know who was in. Some of it I was like, you guys are dumb. It's not going to be they were like Mara Jade and Thrawn, which Thrawn came in and stuff. And at this point, they could announce one of the other two shows. Eric could be a Mara Jade show. So,
we've actually talked about that. Eric has a sneaking suspicion they're going to do the climactic event between all this stuff is going to be called what, Eric? Come on, you have your moment.
Oh.
Heir to the Empire.
Oh!
Dude, think about
we're getting Thrawn in and stuff.
And we get Ahsoka, we get a Jedi coming in, then you get
I think
Mando, who could be like Han Solo.
Yeah, I think they're just gonna adapt the story, like probably not call it that, but like essentially the way Force Awakens adapted a lot of Legend stuff, just bringing in your new big three is gonna be like Ahsoka, Sabine, Ezra, and then maybe Bo-Katan shows up.
Mandalorian might
She's like
show up.
Mando and Grogu maybe.
How sick! Like you get a.
It would be like the Avengers, dude. It would be the Avengers. It seriously would. It would be great. The Avengers. Like we're basically getting Avengers 1 in Mando season 2 because he's with frickin' Boba Fett and that Fennec Shand who he helped capture and all that and who else, man? I mean, they had Mayfeld, which we can get into all that stuff later and all that, but man,
no, it's crazy. Look where we're at. Look where we're at versus where we started. So you would be checking those websites just like I was, figuring out what this stuff's going to be about. And
every freaking day. And whenever I started working, like after I got married and I started working at the school I used to go to school at as a recruiter, every day, man, I would go on and like refresh. What's the new news? Okay, Rebels. I would like, give me more news about Rebels. What's coming out? What's coming out? Who are the characters? What's going on? Like, I remember that fan art coming out of like, we thought it was going to be like, all these Clone Wars characters.
I know.
Which it ended up being. But remember like the younglings from the Gathering episodes with Ahsoka? We were like, they're going to be in it.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, no, I was, actually I want to hear Eric because Eric and I might be in a very similar path because we were both at the same high school, though him and I were not friends. We just weren't associated together. So, Eric, you were a senior, okay? And we might have actually the same lunch. We don't even know. So, Eric, let's hear about that. What was that like? Because it might have been different.
Yeah, I just remember whether it had to have been Facebook. I log into Facebook and I see somebody shares an article about Disney buying Lucasfilm, and it was kind of one of those moments where all the text from the Matrix just flew past my head because I had to reevaluate my whole life because me and Star Wars ended our relationship. I would still go side Star Wars every now and then, but for the most part it was over. So, and I didn't care about Clone Wars until post acquisition, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care about Phantom Menace going to theaters, which is crazy considering it's one of my favorite Star Wars movies, since it's the best one. And
yes, indeed.
It was weird because I was just like, well, what does this mean? I remember reading the article that was episodes 7, 8, and 9 will be coming out on and they had, I don't know if they had exact dates, but I'm pretty sure they had years.
They definitely
close
had
2015, 2017, 2019. And I remember being like, man, I'm going to be 25 when the last Star Wars movie comes out. I'm 18 at this point, or probably maybe almost 19. Or no, I had just
You're
turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just turned 18. So I was like, man, I'm gonna be old when the last Star Wars movie comes out. Because we didn't know anything about spinoffs or the man. Like, how incredible is that? Like, I think we are in the actualization of what this acquisition promised now.
Now, I love that you said that. I love that you said that because we knew this going in, and Eric and I talk about it a lot whenever we talk on the phone. And I'm going to be honest with you, Jerry. I talk on the phone with Eric, and I don't mean to be cheating on you, but I talk on the phone with Eric. I'm not even kidding. 25 minutes at least every day. I'm not kidding. And
aren't
it's
you
always
guys just
about
adorable?
Star Wars. No, but it's because he's my car ride home. And like literally had this chance to figure out what Mano's going to be like, what all this means. And we talk about it all the time, especially this. We've always said that they had to do the sequel trilogies. They just had to because it would cash grab them. And they all turned out to be really good. We all love them for their own individual reasons. But they had to get it done so they could lead us into this next era.
Yeah.
This is the golden age. And what they just announced, last Thursday, is the absolute golden age of Star Wars. They just slated everything out for us, what to expect, descriptions, title card, director, writer. Like, we are truly in to where, like you just said, Eric, what this acquisition promised. It's amazing.
Well, and how many shows does Star Trek have at this point?
Like one or two.
I think we beat Star Trek in one fell swoop, honestly.
Yeah, no, we did do that. No, you're right about that.
That's kind of so take that, Trekkies. I'm just kidding. There's a lot of overlap in there and stuff. I have nothing against Star Trek, but that's just so funny to me that it's like now Star Wars is in that era, but they're doing TV better than probably Star Trek ever has because they like Star Wars is another level. Yes. You know, the fans expect something. You can't just slap like a couple of prosthetics on on a I don't know, Timothy Oliphant and send him out like going, I'm an alien with I just got bigger ears than you. You know? You can't do that.
But that's what makes this so special, right? And here we are in the middle of it. And I don't know, Eric, do you have anything else you want to elaborate on that from your experience with the announcement and everything?
Yeah, I mean, I just remember being really excited. I think my relationship with Star Wars at that time was the original Battlefront 2, the prequels about every once a year, every now and then I felt like watching my DVDs, which I still have. And Lego Star Wars and Lego Star Wars 2. I'd like play that. And I'm just like, wow, and like, did they confirm the big three like pretty early on? Maybe not that day, but like
not the day of, but it was early on.
I remember being like, whoa. I remember being like, wow, now I'm gonna care about the original trilogy. Like, because I'm 20. I'm 26. My Star Wars is the prequels. Like, it is what it is. I will watch the prequels literally twice over before being like, yeah, I'll just watch the original trilogy. I love the original trilogy. Don't get me wrong. But I was telling somebody this the other day. It's watching Star Wars as an adult for the first time is a really tough thing to do because there's something inherently, and I don't want to use the word childish, but like child inspired.
There's a childlike
wonderment. Right. But
there you go.
It's something that, it's like something you cherish when you're younger. So obviously for me and Scott and you, Jerry, the prequels were like the thing. So now I'm sitting here and being like, oh wow, now I have to like care about the original trilogy because they can't tell more prequel stories, even though they did eventually. But here's a really important thing about the acquisition, which we never thought about, and maybe this is a bit of a double-edged sword. So we know that Disney is now doing a good job with Star Wars because once again, they are changing the way films are being made, and that's what Star Wars does. That's what good Star Wars does, and like that's what we're in the middle of right now. The sequels didn't do that. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like, obviously they are more impressive visually than the two trilogies before them, but they didn't really introduce anything that new. I mean, they did. Okay, they did introduce something new with like, Tarkin and Leia and stuff, but it's one of those things where like you can have opinion on whether you like that or not. And like you can have an opinion about green screen, but ultimately Star Wars was like what like kind of blew digital filmmaking up, right?
Yeah,
right.
So the fact now we have essentially take the George Lucas mind of the original trilogy and the George Lucas mind of the prequels, and you see the actualization of that technology in the Mando alone.
Oh, it's amazing.
Right? So now we know that those papers needed to be signed.
Yeah.
Like George maybe would have done it, maybe, but we don't know. So the fact that we're here right now, I think it's just like a blessing that we're getting to watch this.
I agree. Look at all the opportunities that opened for people like us that would have probably been really, I wouldn't say closeted fans for the past 15 years, but here we are, it's 2020. I mean, we have a very successful podcast in our hands simply because it came back, right? I think it's a huge thing, right? And look, Eric, I actually have it pulled up. This is exactly what was released that day by the Disney company. All right, I'll read it word for word. Actually, I won't share the screen. I'll read it word for word. It says this: the last Star Wars movie released was 2005, Revenge of the Sith, and what we believe is a substantial pent-up. I'm sorry, I started that. The last Star Wars movie release was 2005's Revenge of the Sith, and we believe there's a substantial pent-up demand. Right, I like that phrasing. In 2015, we're planning to release Star Wars Episode 7, the first feature film under the Disney Lucasfilm brand. That will be followed by Episodes 8 and Episodes 9. Our long-term plan is to release a new Star Wars feature film every 2 to 3 years. Yeah. We're very happy to have George Lucas will be our creative consultant on our new Star Wars films that Kathleen Kennedy and current co-chair of Lucasfilm will executively produce. George handpicked Kathy earlier this year to lead Lucasfilm into the future. She'll join Disney as president of Lucasfilm, reporting into Walt Disney Studios chairman Alan Horn, and integrating and building the Star Wars franchise across our company. All right, so that is word for word what it says.
How
That's
crazy.
how we do it. That's how we do it.
How crazy that he was like, yeah, I'll be the creative consultant. Like he thought that would work. Like,
yeah.
And like,
It was such a bad breakup too. Like whenever that didn't work out, like the whole white slavers thing and all that was.
I watched the interview today.
Yeah, I mean, and like you can't even blame him for that. Like this man gave,
it's his baby.
Yeah, this man gave. Oh, look at this. We look like a boy band. And we're like, hold on, my head's so much bigger than yours.
Mine is no. I got a fat head. Here we go.
We look like Singular raising the bar right here, or AT&T. Anyway, nice try.
Sorry for you audio listeners.
Gosh, what was I even saying? No, we're George. You can't really even blame him because, like, this man gave like how many generations like dreams, like as like as over dramatic as that sounds, like. Literally, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be like doing what I'm doing in life without Star Wars. I know that sounds a little silly, but I think like, dude, let's talk about this. How many people, and like y'all know people who are just like, I'm not meant to do like X, Y, and Z in this office. Like I need to do something that makes me feel like I'm achieving something like I'm watching these Star Wars people do. Like they get to live their dream and blah, 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 blah. Like, and this podcast is proof of that. Mm-hmm. So I remember, this is something we can talk about. I remember fans were furious when they read that Disney was buying Lucasfilm. They're like, they're going to screw it up. They're going to make it all kitty and like all this Mickey Mouse art with like Stormtrooper stuff. And I remember just being like, doesn't Disney own Marvel? Like I remember, by 2012,
that was my whole point.
Marvel?
Yeah, well, and like people were like saying, "Oh, are they gonna have the Disney logo instead of like?" No, if you watch the freaking Marvel movie,
they never do this. They
don't just. It doesn't start. But
you know what?
Iron Man flies over Cinderella's castle. You know, like.
What'd you say, Eric?
I mean, if it did, I don't even think I'd be that mad. It's like
I
we
mean,
all know, like we all
yeah.
know Disney owns this, and like I don't know. It is kind of cool that they do respect the individual IP, well, not IP, but like whole entire entity
Yeah.
of like Marvel. It's like, no, this is a Marvel movie. It's not a Disney movie. It's a, but you know, that's why they, you know, you wait till the end of the credits and you get that big old distributed by Walt Disney Pictures. So
that sticker that makes money.
way,
It's just printing money. Boom, boom.
Stay for the credits, kids. Stay for the
For
credits.
real.
Stay after the
I'm a
no,
big
for
fan.
real. Do stay for the credits because those guys that's all the people who actually worked hard. When you're like stealing the movies, you're like, they make millions of dollars. Not the people whose names are in the credits.
Yeah.
They make a check like me and you. Ask our
Yeah.
good friend Shannon Morin.
It's true. That's a good point. And like,
For real.
you know, the best thing about this was this did create jobs. And one of the more interesting things about this acquisition is immediately after, okay, this is no joke. This dropped that same day the news dropped. We're going to watch it together. This, for a while, I believe, let me see the dates when these dropped. It seemed like they dropped every week. So Kathleen Kennedy and George Lucas did an interview. I guess they did one interview announcing the acquisition. Okay. Let me see if I can get this.
I just want to look at
screen.
that picture of Rob Iger and Bob Iger and
Rob
Lucas, just like
Zemeckis.
shaking hands. Rob Zemeckis.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, hey, that's the canon talk show right there.
Yes.
Is Rogan Joe? You know, with,
Bro, I'm surprised they haven't done something like that. Like
we got the whole crew here.
We did.
Yeah. Imagine
So
if that was
Disney.
like, done. Yeah.
That's
What's
the thing.
Watto's species name?
Toydarian.
Toydarian,
He'd be like a perfect like podcast host, like angry. I'm so sick of the empire.
Hey, they feed them. How can you beat that?
That would
All
be
right, so Scotty, are we talking over this or are we listening and then discussing?
we will listen, okay? We will do a little bit of listening.
We're
And
listening
I'll pause
respectfully.
it when I want to make a point, and of course y'all can always pause it when you want to make a point. So let's get this thing rolling. Let me kill it real quick because I need to make sure the audio is shared.
You
so this is
better.
really interesting. This I did not realize dropped the same day that news dropped. And Star Wars, okay, if you don't know this, but Star Wars YouTube for a while was like the only thing pushing out content. And if you go back, and Eric and I made this discovery, if y'all go back and look, there's still 1313 trailers. There's still this really weird Ashley Eckstein bit where like it's actually Ashley like talking to like all the Clone Wars creators and stuff. It's weird. But if you go back, Sam Witwer's there. It's odd. But when you watch it, it's really interesting, especially because this dropped the same day that news dropped. So we're gonna watch it real quick, and it's I did not realize that till just now. It's kind of peculiar. I would see. Let me know if y'all can hear it. Okay.
All right.
Talking about retiring for several years now. I wanted to get into sort of another stage of life where I'm not in the film business anymore. I don't have to run a corporation. And it occurred to me one day that the perfect person to take over the company was Kathy. It's just such a perfect fit. And I felt that I really wanted to put the company somewhere in a larger entity which would protect it. Disney is a huge corporation. They have all kinds of capabilities and facilities, so that there's a lot of strength that is gained by this. The great thing about Disney, again, as we were saying before, is that, you know, between the parks and all the things they've got going, it's great that we have a chance probably to expand that. And, you know, there's lots and lots of opportunities at Disney that we wouldn't have at any other studio.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause it real quick. What do y'all think of that? Okay, I love that Kathleen Kennedy is the first person that comes to mind. Would that have been y'all's? I mean, I don't know. Like, we weren't really in the know back then, but like, who's better? I mean, really, someone that's been there.
Yeah. I mean, she was on set with him for a lot of stuff. I'm stealing this from another podcast that I watched, but Steven Spielberg has credited her as being the greatest producer of all time.
Yeah.
Can't beat that.
Right. And I mean, you know, I like how George is it to like pass on the baton to like somebody like Kathy. I don't know. And the fact that he calls her Kathy is just hilarious.
It's amazing. It's just so George, though. And like this whole interview is really George post acquisition. He kind of doesn't care. I mean, look what he's wearing. Literally. And like, if you look at the photo of us,
that's every freaking day for Georgie.
He's not wearing a suit.
Georgie,
he's
baby.
never wearing a suit. It's the greatest thing. But
has
Jerry,
George Lucas ever worn a suit? Though, honestly. Well, he's worn some tuxes. We've seen him in some tuxes and stuff. Looks like Mr. Popper's penguin. So he looks like one of the penguins, actually. No one can quite wear a suit like Josh Most, though. So that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. True.
So, Jerry, how do you feel about this whole kind of interaction so far? I think it's I think it's just awesome to see that they are like, yeah, we're gonna do this. It's kind of weird.
It's fantastic. You asked the question like, did we think that Kathy was the one to take over? And I'm going to be honest, I did not know who Kathleen Kennedy was.
Sure.
Pre all of this. And then I looked up and I was like, holy crap. She was the producer on Raiders of the Lost Ark and Jurassic Park.
You name it. Yep.
E.T., all of these, like my entire childhood, basically.
Yeah.
She was one of the authors of like Eric, you were talking about George being the one, like, making dreams for people, which makes me really laugh and want like a George Lucas in like a Tooth Fairy toga type outfit, just like being imagine George Lucas as the Sandman, as the guy who comes around to put people to sleep. He's like, hey, how's he doing? You just want to count some sheep or something? I've got, let's see, I've got this by my good friend Steven. Spielberg. It's Spielberg. I'm sorry. I realize that he's not your friend. You like Jurassic Park? Okay. All right. I'm gonna blow sand in your eyes now. Okay. All right. Sorry, but what was I even saying? Sorry.
Let's get back to it.
Kathleen Kennedy. I'm sorry. I've had that stuck in my head ever since you said that, Eric, and I was like, I got to get this George impression out. Like,
understandable.
Imagine George with tiny little fairy wings, like on a suspension cable. Like, all right, thank you. Put me in the volume. Yes. Oh, looks like I'm flying.
Oh man.
Anyway, but I thought there was no question after I looked at her track record, at her career, at her like, what would you call it? Her portfolio or something, like here's my work. And I'm like, Raiders of the Lost Ark, check. Jurassic Park, check. E.T., check. You give this woman is like,
Back to the Future.
She has touched every big property that I've ever loved in my life. And I'm like, let her have some Star Wars too. Like, definitely. Yeah.
Dude, Indian in the cupboard.
Yeah, Indian in the cupboard.
Well, for real though, I remember being pretty into Indian in the cupboard for like a year whenever it came out, and like but it's you think then there was already people going like, I don't know, all this stuff. And after like the first movie came out, and I think maybe it wasn't quite until like E.T. or whatever, like you had all these people coming out, the sexist yahoos, and all that stuff, the incel club, with their necks pulsing with celibate rage, talking about, Kathy, how dare you put women in my Star Wars?
Yeah.
And I remember using that though, like, dude, she did this, and this. Like, she's more than qualified. That might have been, honestly, I really got involved on the online stuff after Last Jedi, which most of us did, because, I mean, come on, So
we're going to get back to this real quick, Jerry.
Let's do it. Look at that man.
I know.
What is up with his hair, may I ask? It looks like a helmet. It looks like an X-Wing helmet.
We have the same exact hairline, though, I will say. Me and GL.
You can do it. You can do it, Scott.
I could do it. Look at that. Oh, let's go to GL.
You got a little.
Wow. I need to have it more pompadoured, but I could do it. I'm a redheaded George Lucas. All right, let's watch this. So this is where Kathy kind of talks about her side of the story.
Yeah.
There's huge opportunity given the tremendous success that Disney's had with Marvel and with Pixar. And
Sorry,
now
I laughed at his head turn.
Lucasfilm to that. I think we couldn't be at a better home.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
Disney defines family entertainment, and in many ways, it's the best company possible to take Star Wars into the future.
Speaking of, we have other.
Now we're just laughing at
I'm sorry.
mannerisms.
I'm like, so I can't help it because he's like so hungry. He's like, but the whole like when the turn of his head, I don't know what it was, but he was like talking and then like, like it was like such a sharp like, yes, Kathy, yes, Kathy.
Oh man!
And then like the hands like the I'm bored, but also not.
Wait, I gotta bring it up because it made me laugh. But all I kept thinking is, what size waist does George Lucas have? Just because this shot is pretty unflattering.
The side shot is not flattering.
Look at that. Wait, I'll pull it up. Sorry. Like, what size waist is that? Like, that's a big guy there, at least in the shot. I don't know,
dude. At the time, in 2012, hey, he was a little bit bigger then, but then cut to the Force Awakens premiere.
It was good.
He's thinned up a bit.
Yeah.
You know, I imagine a lot of those.
That's his prequel hater weight. Honestly, probably it's got to be.
I'm sure he was still running a company and like still getting those Starbucks drinks every single day.
He's like diet nothing but Coke and Hershey bars every day just to deal with the stress. Like,
oh, it's awesome.
Well, I laughed also at the part where he's like, whenever I made Star Wars back in the day, people said, Disney should have made this. That's all he said.
Yeah.
And it's just like, would have been. All right, let's go back.
I want to see the head turn. I missed the head turn. Hold on.
The head turn.
Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
Oh, well, this is a Disney movie. Disney should have made.
Family entertainment. In many ways, it's the best company possible to take Star Wars into the future.
The eyes, like, it's a little more back, Scotty.
I always said I wasn't going to do anymore. That's true. I'm not going to do anymore. But that doesn't mean I'm unwilling to turn it over to Kathy to do more. I have story treatments of 7, 8, and 9 and a bunch of other movies. And obviously,
awkward.
And everything you could possibly imagine. So, I sort of moved that treasure trove of stories and various things.
That's an interesting line. Wait, I want to talk about that. I never noticed
treasure
that.
Trove.
He said
stories.
He had we knew he had the like treatments. We all have known that. We know Michael Hart helped write the treatments. Like, we know these treatments were there, right? But he said something that I didn't realize. Listen to this real quick. Hold on.
And obviously we have hundreds of books and comics.
Oh, wait, sorry.
I mean, I'm unwilling to turn it over to Kathy to do.
And speaking of, we have other big news.
Well, I always said I wasn't going to do any more. And that's true. I'm not going to do any more. But that doesn't mean I'm unwilling to turn it over to Kathy to do more. I have story treatments of 7, 8, and 9 and a bunch of other movies. And obviously we have hundreds of books and comics and everything you could possibly imagine. So, I sort of moved that treasure trove of stories and various things to Kathy, and I have complete confidence that she's going to take them and make great movies.
I think it's really kind of cool that he brings that up. I don't know, the comics thing, and then all of a sudden, the next week they were like, yeah, let's take that and put it over here and rebrand the hell out of it. Why? That's kind of odd. What do y'all think of that? I never thought about that because I always thought it was George kind of put aside that stuff, but here we are getting it like maybe for story reasons.
I think he did a little bit. I think he because what was it? I don't think they found out on the Resistance broadcast. I don't know again how true this is or not, but apparently George didn't really care for Mara Jade. Yeah, he didn't want Luke getting married and stuff, which I kind of believe that. But you had his stuff that he liked and all. I'm sure he was like, "Oh, these are good. And they had that whole big thing with he really liked what was it, Shadows of the Empire, right?
Yeah,
and stuff like he was big behind that. I mean, they did a whole, it was a whole campaign and all that. But I've been thinking about this recently because people like they act like it was just they flushed it all down the potty. Sorry, I have a 3-year-old. They acted like they just flushed everything down the toilet when it's like it was just they rebranded the hell out of it. And what's funny is I think that fans took that as like I don't know, I've never understood the mindset of I want you to remake I want to just see all of the books made into movies, because that's really worked well for people who are fans of the books of other movies, honestly. Like everyone's always like the book's better than the movie. Which is a trope. I don't know. It's just like it's interesting to hear him say that, because a lot of the feel I get is that he didn't really care, he wanted to do his own story, which I think he did, but it does sound like he was kind of like, well, there's a lot of source material to pull from. Here's the encyclopedia. I've sealed it with love, with a kiss. Here you go, Kathy. Have fun.
And it's been utilized, which I will say.
Yeah.
But I never heard him say that before, which I thought was very peculiar.
Right.
I think the line you hang on to is that he had ideas for other movies.
Yep.
So it's like, what was that? I mean, clearly, maybe Solo.
Yeah.
Right. That was like the big one, right? That he was all about.
He said he wanted Lawrence to do that one. Like he was like specific.
Honestly, how just tell me, like, how likely do y'all think that some of these new shows are based off of stuff that he like pitched? Like Lando? Like that's so George. Can you imagine him doing like kind of like I don't want to assume this, but like I'm assuming it's going to be very stylized and like maybe not so blaxploitation, but like Lando will be very stylized.
Oh
like,
yeah, it's gonna be
probably that. Honestly, would be so sick, like almost like a 70s, 80s style, just like Shaft or something.
Oh yeah,
hey, that's Scotty. That's where you get Tarantino.
That's
like,
true.
Man.
Like if you ever get Tarantino
Honestly,
to do Star Wars, it's
It'd be
gonna
bad.
be in the Lando show, and he's gonna come in and be like, "Okay, so we're gonna do this," and like,
okay.
Here's
You
how
know,
we do it. Here's
and
how
he
we
would
do
do it. He would do it well.
Yeah, he
Right.
would. And I think and they go into talking about that one of these parts, which we'll watch. They mention how important it was to have someone else come in and tell the story. Like we want to get different people, unique people to come and tell a Star Wars story. And like, I mean, we've only had JJ show up twice, but everyone else that's done Star Wars has been really unique to Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's kind of a beautiful thing, and I'm really excited to think that there's so many different doors that are being opened with all these other shows. I mean, we're going to get people we don't know, like Rick Famuyiwa, never heard of him before Mando.
Right.
Deborah Chow, never heard of him before. Never heard of her before that. Everyone else has been kind of a reoccurrence, and we've gotten huge directors doing Mando. So we're in for a treat, y'all, in the next couple of years. I mean, Taika is the most satirical of all the people they've gotten. He literally posted like, "Oh, this guy's doing a Star Wars.
He's like, I can't wait to ruin Star Wars for everyone," or something. Yeah,
make it so like,
oh my
I
gosh,
I can't wait for that.
Well, like, I mean, think about his episode of Mando was the last one of the first season. That episode, I'm sorry, is fantastic because the humor with the troopers at the beginning is perfect. And that is Taika. It's a Taika film because of the mundane, the humor in the mundane. That is all Taika is about. And it's about taking these things that we put all this like meaning and stuff behind and then being like, no, this is what it would really be like, but not making it like cheesy or like an SNL sketch.
Yeah.
And then it ends with an awesome like IG-11 just banging the one dude into the bike and bending the bike and just think about all that, man. I mean, all of that. There was emotion and all kinds of stuff in that one. I'm so excited for Taika's film.
Oh, me too. Eric, what were you going to say? I saw your brain kind of fire off for a second.
Oh, no, you're fine. With the Kathy, the pick, I bet, probably maybe not for long, but I bet Spielberg was attached at this point.
Oh, dude.
Like in some capacity. I don't know about directing, but I bet
a lot of George's friends were. I really do think Zemeckis, people like that were probably involved. No, seriously, like I'd imagine.
I'm sorry. I was laughing at Kathy. I was laughing at at Kathy's like face. That's a meme waiting to happen right there.
I bet they wanted Steven to do it so bad at one
Oh,
point.
yeah.
At one point, maybe not at this interview, maybe before, maybe out, who knows, but he just won't do it. He's like, George is my friend and I won't do it. Like,
Not since Revenge of the Sith, right? Since that conspiracy theory. Yeah, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah,
might be true. Hey, the Disney Plus, the eventual. Me and Scott keep talking about this. The eventual Disney Plus documentary of the whole series. We'll find out.
Oh yeah,
that when we're all when you guys are like 50 and I'm probably like in the home. That's when we'll figure that out and stuff, right? Right. Yeah.
So I'm gonna get back to this interview real quick. This one really doesn't go that far.
When those Disney Lucasfilm announcements hit just right.
I kind of like that.
Y'all, that could be a T-shirt.
You gotta can you screen cap that, please?
Yeah, I'll do it real quick. Hold
do
on.
it. Guys, you're seeing history right here. Like, that's just like good.
I have to do a little plug for y'all. I just ordered the Georgism T-shirt from the Bombadcast T Public, which I had a little bit of a hand in creating the logo. So it's not every day you get to order a shirt with something you made on it. Yeah, so go check out the T Public store, bros.
For real, man. For real. We got to get some stuff on the Beyond the Blast Door shop eventually.
Yes.
Maybe when we're 50 and we're watching the stuff, you know? So.
Yeah, with this image. All right. So we're going to get back to it.
So amazing.
Jerry, try to contain your laughter when it comes to George. I know he's funny.
I'm going to stop. I might have to mute myself because he's so awkward. I love him to pieces. I just want to give him a big old hug.
And complete confidence that she's going to take them and make great movies.
We are absolutely going to make Star Wars movies, and we're in the midst of the really fun part of the process, which is we're sitting down with a couple of writers and we're starting to discuss ideas and we're starting to talk about what those stories might be. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to be entirely on my own because it's important that he at least continue to be the little guardian angel on my shoulder, helping
they're
me do this.
finishing the hologram now. Don't worry.
My Yoda has to be there.
I'm doing this so that the films will have a longer life, and so that more fans and people can enjoy them into the future. It's a very big universe I've created, and there's a lot of stories that are sitting in there.
The main thing is to protect these characters. Make sure that they still continue to live in the way that you created them and that the universe of Star Wars continues to grow.
I get to be a fan now, which is what I was saying before.
It's cut so well, but you can tell this is like an hour-long conversation that just got cut into like 10 seconds. So, Eric, I saw your face light up. What you want to say?
I mean, it's just interesting to talk about that line right there was to keep these characters living the way you created them. Which, like, devil's advocate, but you can argue that like they didn't do that with some of them. A lot of the characters they did do that, but I just think, I think they were like in the beginning they were like, yeah, we need to do these characters justice, and I mean, what a daunting task, to begin with, and the fact that they couldn't land. They probably wanted JJ for all three, or they wanted Favs for all three at one point or something. But
it almost even seemed like they wanted Ryan, honestly, to go on and do the third one.
I remember reading that too.
Yeah, there's a lot of different forms of it.
The way it's phrased too. I mean, it's like you said, Eric. It's a hard task, but at the same exact time, I mean. How do you make a new series of movies with old characters and not introduce anyone new? You know what I mean? I don't know. There was so much that had to be done to make this go right, and then we're going to make everyone happy. But if we ask any regular, not insane fan like us, what did you think of the sequel trilogy? Most of the time they'll say, "Oh, I loved it. It was great," and it was probably made for them, honestly. Really, I think it was made for fans like us to be happy and watch them and enjoy them together and talk about them. But I really do think it was made for the populace. Now we're getting things like The Mandalorian that is not made for the populace. It's made for both populace and insane fans. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean everything that they've done is George inspired, but like it.
Yeah.
I would say most of the new characters in the sequel trilogy are very George in terms of like he would have done stuff like that, maybe just a little different. But I think I don't know. Mando. I mean, okay, so I'm bearing the lead here, but Dave Filoni should have been involved from this. He should have been in this conversation.
Yeah,
This one right here. Kathy's taken over as the president of the company, and Dave Filoni's going to be, I don't know. You can't
Head of the
say
story
Feige.
group or something.
Right,
Yeah.
right. You can't say Kevin Feige because it's a different dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Now you probably could say Kevin Feige, honestly, just with what they're doing.
Right, now you can.
It's a very Kevin Feige-esque.
But it took 5 years. Oh, I'm sorry, 8 years. It took 8 years, almost to the day, for them to get to this moment. But it's really surreal. This is 8, and this is before the YouTube explosion. Like that's one thing you got to bring up. Like this was before everyone uploaded their content to YouTube. Like music videos were still pirated to YouTube essentially. So here we are, like Lucasfilm is on the cutting edge of knowing when things need to be posted. So we're going to finish watching this real quick and go on to the next one. Okay. It is a 5-part series.
That they still continue to live in the way that you created them, and that the universe of Star Wars continues to grow.
I get to be a fan now, which is what I was saying before, and I should look forward to it. It's a lot more fun actually than actually having to go out in the mud. And
you can actually blog about what we're doing and how we're messing things up.
No. I just say, gosh, they're out in the snow and it's cold, and hopefully it'll be an inspiring package of entertainment that it has always been well into the future.
I agree with that statement. I don't think he was wrong. It was inspiring, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we all agree.
That was he knew the end of Force Awakens.
Yeah. He kind of did.
Probably.
I should probably
Go ahead. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say she probably spoiled herself a bit there.
Yeah. Like George, pull it back. He's talking about like she's like, you should blog about it or something. Like, can you imagine George Lucas's podcast? Like for the entire sequel trilogy. Like, well, they basically they made Han Solo old. I guess time did that. But I would have done something. I would have used magic to make him young Harrison again. Yes.
Wow, this one seems interesting. Getting started.
Yeah. So this is exactly a week later. This is November 8th. Okay. Wow. November 8th. A week later. I mean, we probably can look up what day this exactly dropped, like in terms of the week. All right. So I'm gonna play a little bit of this for y'all, then I'll stop it.
What can you tell us about the new Star Wars film?
Absolutely nothing.
We can't ask.
Well, we can certainly say that we're absolutely going to make movies. Mm-hmm. We're sitting down with a couple of writers and we're starting to discuss ideas and we're starting to talk about what those stories might be. And we're recognizing that I think they could be pretty fun and pretty great.
What do you see your role as creative consultant? What does that mean?
I just said that I would back her up and I would be there if and especially help him with the script, and making sure the script sort of, there's a lot of blank spots in the story treatment that we can fill in.
I think the incredible thing about George is, this is not like a series of books like Harry Potter where you've already got a template of what the stories might be. These are original stories and original ideas that come out of a world that essentially is in George's head. So the beauty of the collaboration that can continue is, as we work our way through these scripts, if we're sitting and saying, I wonder if this character can do that, or does this make sense within the rules of Star Wars? That really, he's the keeper of the flame when it comes to that.
It's the same thing with the first three films. That's all my job is to be the keeper of the flame.
It's really exciting.
Okay, hold on. Okay, this is really important. Remember, it seems like every documentary kind of has this thrown in there, but the Director and the Jedi probably was one of my favorite documentaries that came out in the sequel trilogy era. And
Yeah.
at one point, Kathy's like, "Hey, Ryan, got a phone call. Like, around 8:30, George wants to talk to you." Okay, so when we know this too, after they did all the Tross stuff, all the Tross like press when it first started Celebration, I'm pretty sure there was a mention in some interview that JJ, Lawrence, George, Ryan all sat down and talked about the sequel trilogy. So I wonder how much of that really is like 100% true. What do y'all think?
I think it's probable and possible and probable because they keep George in the loop. They might have thrown away whatever his treatments for the sequels, but like everything that's major besides last week that's been in Star Wars, like announcements wise, he's kind of always kind of been there and involved. Like he was at the park opening, he was at the 40th at Celebration 2017. So I think it's very likely. I think they always wanted him to be involved, but it probably got to his head when things weren't going exactly the way he wanted them to. And I mean, he said it himself. He's like, yeah, I can't just like basically half-ass this. I can't just half be there. Like I have to be involved or I'm not involved. That's why I'm kind of I think he said like he was getting divorced from Star Wars. So it's like, but from here, like, like you can just tell from this interview that like, she's like, I don't want him to leave.
Nope.
So,
No.
So, and I think you get George Jr. with Dave, which is again something they didn't realize at this point. But it is interesting to hear them talking about. Basically, he's like Pablo Hidalgo at this point.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Interesting stuff.
It is. It is pretty cool, Jerry. What is your takeaway from that one little moment?
It's just, I mean, I still don't think we know fully, like you said, until the whole, Eric, like you were saying, until we get like the whole documentary and the whole series. I don't think we're gonna know how much George was involved, because there were people being like, "Oh, well, he actually went to set for Force Awakens and Rise of Skywalker, and then Last Jedi he just called and stuff or whatever." But I do, Scotty, though, remember before we got a lot of stuff on Rise of Skywalker, I remember that article talking about how they all got together, or I think it was in like the article after it came out. I think there was like something in EW where JJ was saying, "No, we all got together and we all talked, and
what's the best way to wrap this up?" And
we feel like this is the way to do it and all that. And so you can say how much is just playing ball, how much is kissing up and not just swallowing your pride and stuff like that. Again, we're not going to get, and honestly, we're not going to get anything that's like really in depth on Disney Plus. Honestly, it's going to be like someone like doing investigative journalism and like finding out. It's going to be someone right now who has been working on, like, someone after the first 10 years of this new Star Wars, Disney owning Star Wars, someone working there right now is going to just become a documentary filmmaker and be like, I got all this footage and stuff. And here's what was going down behind the scenes.
It would be great. So, I would love to see that. But that's Brandon Bernardi and I talked about it whenever he was on for the episode of the Prequel Makers and stuff. Like, we talked about how the beginning was very raw. It showed chaos, and J.W. Rinsler, his stuff was literally shut down. His like blog was shut down, and his book was ceased being made just because Harrison broke his leg. And Lucasfilm did not want that going out there. And I think it's a really
which is crazy, because then it just like, it was everywhere. Like everyone was talking about how Han's leg got crushed by the Falcon's like door. And so I remember that. And then he was like, then I remember like a few weeks later, he was sliding down this slide that goes all the way down a mountain in Chile or something. You remember that?
Yeah.
I remember seeing that where it's like, he's like, woo! It's like a picture of Harrison Ford going down like a giant mountain slide.
Yeah.
It's like, You are like 100 years old, and you are like, what are you doing? You have to finish Star Wars.
Then he crashed his plane.
Yeah.
Then he crashed a plane in a freaking golf course to save people in a. Harrison Ford is a real. He's a real action hero. He's real. So he is Indiana Jones.
Because they didn't want anyone knowing about it. But I'm going to go back to this because there's an interesting part that happens towards the end of this. All right, hold on.
Because I think there's a whole generation of filmmakers that have been inspired by George and Star Wars, and they're absolutely thrilled, excited, and daunted at the prospect of possibly being able to step in and carry the mantle of making these movies. And I think that's exciting too, is that those new filmmakers coming into this franchise and being able to take all the incredible ideas and characters and places that we can go within this universe offer incredible opportunities.
What are you looking for in a director?
Enthusiasm, obviously, having a sense of how to tell stories within complex worlds like this. There are many people who spring to mind with writers and directors that I've worked with in the past that I'm really excited to try to bring into the fold on this. I think we have a unique opportunity to go.
All right. I'm gonna look it up while y'all are talking, but I want to know who she's referring to. I'm gonna look it up right now while we're on air.
Spielberg,
but
Zemeckis.
I know there's so many people, but how do y'all feel about that? Because she said she wanted someone kind of, who is ambitious and enthusiastic and ready to play in this universe. It's really weird because we've had people come and go, like the Benioff and Wise. That was weird. We thought that would be one that would land because of Game of Thrones being so well received. And then George was on the set for that, like last season, hanging out with him. And here we are. That got axed, like straight up axed. And the article is gone from Star Wars' website. All right.
Oh, wow.
We've got, and we've got obviously we've got the Gareth Edwards drama beyond belief with Tony Gilroy showing up. He's like, yeah, it was a nightmare. I needed to save it, And then we've also had the third one, obviously, Phil Lord and Chris Miller. All those announcements, y'all, were insane getting those live. I never forget, I was at work when those things were dropped. Creative differences has led to them departing from this project. Like, I wonder, I'm gonna look it up, but how do y'all feel about that? That's a bold statement she made. She's like, I want this enthusiastic person, but they have to be willing to play, What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, they've always had their eyes on like hot filmmakers, and that's why all those names that you mentioned were tried out at least. I just like to see, like, what is Gareth Edwards up to? Like, what does he do?
Dude, why does he always look dirty and disheveled? I can't figure out Gareth. He always looks confused. He's always like talking. Like Brando and Nerdy put a picture of him up today, and I was looking. I'm like, he just looks confused and dirty. Like he looks like a poor lost little homeless guy. Can't figure it out. But I'm looking at Kathleen. That's
how he gets inspired to make film. Right. It was, but by the way, the whole thing about Henry Gilroy coming in to save it and all that, what a pompous like a-hole that guy was, where he comes in and he's just like, I'm going to save this. I don't care anything about it. It's all for the nerds. Right.
Yes.
Is he British? I feel like he should be British.
Tony Gilroy is British. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, I just remember him being interviewed. I think it might've been on like Collider or something. And he was like, oh yeah, I don't care for any of that. Blah 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 blah. It's just
he's like, I'll never do another one ever again.
Yeah,
Cassian
Andor. And it's just like basically like coming in there like, I don't give a shit about any of this, but I'm gonna come in here and like save this in my sleep. It's like this is how you do a nerd movie.
Oh, it's amazing.
We have Rogue One now, and now we're gonna have Andor. Coming down the pike.
So I've got a bunch of them pulled up. Eric, you might know the directors better than I do, but E.T. was the first one she produced. It's crazy. So Spielberg Poltergeist, which was not Spielberg, but it was written with Spielberg.
I was gonna say he produced that too as well, at least.
I believe so. Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom, Gremlins,
Was that Joe Dante? Sorry, who did Gremlins? Because he helped him write Gremlins too, didn't he?
I don't know. Actually.
Gremlins as well, not Gremlins 2. Anyway.
I don't think she did not do Gremlins 2. I'm looking at that right now.
No. Gremlins.
No, I know.
Gremlins.
I know, but it's funny you said it. Back to the Future, Goonies, Young Sherlock Holmes, The Color Purple, all these other things are some I'm not really familiar with. Oh, Batteries Not Included. It's a great movie. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? That's huge. Land Before Time.
That was like my childhood when I was 3. I would watch that and cry like when I was a 3-year-old.
Back to the Future. Let's see. Hook. Let's keep it going.
You're literally naming the VHS shelf at my family's house when I was young.
All the Tiny Toon Adventures. She produced all of those. 98 episodes. 98 episodes.
Did Spielberg have something to do with that? Because Spielberg created Animaniacs too. Yeah. Right? Does she have anything to do with Animaniacs? Because I'm going to flip my friggin' lid if she
I didn't see it on here. No. Okay. Jurassic Park. Schindler's List. Let's see. I don't know what Congo is.
Congo with the like genetically changed gorillas. I never saw it, but
I guess
I remember it coming out. They had like action figures and all kinds of stuff. People talk about how the rocks floated because they were fake.
Which is crazy.
Holy crap!
Twister, Lost World.
Friggin' loves Twister.
Oh, Animaniacs, Wacko's Wish.
That was a movie. Yeah.
Sixth Sense. AI, Jurassic Park 3, Signs, Seabiscuit, War of the Worlds, Munich, Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Ponyo, which is pretty crazy. She did the English version of Ponyo. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Wow, I didn't know that.
Anything that's had a little bit of Oscar attention or really popularity in the summer, she had.
No, I didn't realize this. Lincoln. Okay, she did that in 2012. Then we lead to
when that Spielberg
Force Awakens, and then she produced BFG, The Girl on a Train, Rogue One, obviously all the Star Wars stuff. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's what we're looking at right now, y'all. That's some pretty heavy parts.
Yeah, so but Scotty, it's like she doesn't know what she's doing with. Sorry. Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
But it's like 4 directors. That was like Spielberg, Zemeckis, David Fincher, and M. Night Shyamalan. That was like pretty much all the directors.
Why hasn't M. Night got a Star Wars yet? That's a good point. That he would make a 6 Star Wars show.
What's a twist? Maybe he will. Yeah, at the end, like no, I actually love M. Night Shyamalan stuff. Like I don't care what the haters say. I actually do like a lot of this stuff.
I didn't even think about David Fincher, Eric.
People have wanted Fincher in forever. Yeah.
So I bet, dude, James Cameron too, even though I don't know if she's worked with him, I bet they wanted him at one point. But he's like, I got to write 6 avatars.
Making my own Star Wars here.
They're all going to be underwater too. They're going to be filmed on the Titanic.
If Disney knows what they're doing, then like the avatars will like be in the next Senate, like E.T. was, but like but not really canon, but just like as a joke.
Oh, I'd love.
No, that's canon. He recognized Yoda, so that's canon. That's canon. I don't know.
He did recognize Yoda, but like, that was just them having fun.
It's a fun thing.
It's like if me and Scott were like Spielberg and Lucas, and I'm like, hey Scott, I'm gonna put a roach in the.
It'd be great.
You guys are something else. I'll tell you what though, Scotty, guys, Eric, with that track record, she that's a great track record, but she does not know what she's doing with Star Wars at all. This lady. She's touched every single part of, like everything that's been special to me in my entire life, every movie, every film. But she didn't know what the heck she's doing with Star Wars. So anyways, go on. Fire Kathleen.
Rob Zemeckis. No,
Fire Rob Zemeckis.
All right.
Here we go.
It's not going to be people who don't already have some affinity for Star Wars, probably. It's going to be somebody who really appreciates what Star Wars meant to them and is excited to dive in and be a part of this. I think that's the thing that I think will become immediately apparent are the directors who walk into the room.
That's been pretty consistent.
I can't wait to be a part of this.
Well, and since you brought it up, I suggest that everybody send their resume to you, not to Kathy. She doesn't have time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty long list.
All right, do you think they boned?
George and Kathleen Kennedy?
No, I think Kathy's been married to Frank Marshall for a long time.
Yeah.
But does Frank Marshall and her swing? Does George Lucas?
Well,
is George
okay,
Lucas
hold on. Newsflash. They got married in '87, so she made a lot of films with George.
Ooh.
Before that.
Ooh.
Or at least a couple.
A lot of parties at Spielberg's place.
They've definitely kissed. I went under the assumption they've probably kissed once.
A couple of film nerds. A couple of film nerds when George was between wives or something, right? Like,
yeah, dude. I wonder we should kiss real quick, Kathy. And she's like, okay, I guess. And they do it, and she's like, that was awful. And he's like, yeah, we probably won't do that again.
I'll fix it in post. Like in 1995, he gave her footage of their kiss, but like ILM had touched it up, like the special. Here's George and Kathy's kiss, special edition. It's like a Ronto walking behind him. So.
That's amazing. All right, let's get this next thing real quick.
Let's do it.
This next
Come on.
good. I've really enjoyed this so far.
It's been fun, man.
Let's see. This thing.
Gosh, I love that posture. That is the posture of a man who owns a multi-million-dollar franchise.
Here we go. Let's hear him speak.
Do you remember the first time that you met?
Oh,
you remember the first time you boned?
Wait.
She was John Milius's assistant, which was quite a job.
Oh, wow.
Apocalypse was shot at the same time as Star Wars. So
Yeah, because that's what John was doing.
Yeah, so it was the very beginning.
Yeah, that's right. He was already kind of a big star. Yeah. Star Wars had already happened.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it had happened.
I think that was during the THX years, where she was always been standing right there in front of me. Because I've been, brooding over who am I going to get and what am I going to do? How am I going to make this work? And ruminating on it endlessly. And then I sort of almost immediately got up. She was in New York. I was in New York. And I just said, hey, let's go have lunch. And I popped the question. And she said yes. And I said, well, you're going to have to divorce Frank first. But,
he just changed the name of the company.
Yeah.
From Kennedy Marshall to Marshall Kennedy.
Did he do that?
So, Kathy, tell us about when.
Wait, Eric, if you don't mind fact checking that, did he really change the name of the company after she became president? From Kennedy Marshall to Marshall Kennedy? Whoa. That would make sense.
That's woke back in the 80s, man.
I think this is 2012, maybe. I don't know. Because she
Was
still
it really?
has a professional name. Yeah, she still has a professional name, which is Kathleen Kennedy.
Right.
She's married to Frank Marshall.
Right.
But Eric,
Wait,
I love that you're just talking about them kissing.
The company?
yeah, I think she changed it from Kennedy Marshall to Marshall Kennedy. I don't know if she did that as a joke or if she actually meant that once she became Lucasfilm. Well, we'll listen to that again. Hold on.
I think it's still Kennedy Marshall.
Okay, all right.
Lunch.
Yeah, Scott, that's called a joke.
Popped the question.
Sorry.
She said yes. And I said, well, you're going to have to divorce Frank first. But
he just changed the name of the company.
Yeah.
From Kennedy Marshall to Marshall Kennedy.
Right.
Took care of that.
So, Kathy, tell
Joe.
us about when he first told you that he wanted you to take over the films.
Well, it's as George said, he called me up when I was in New York and he said, let's go have lunch. And I thought we were going to sit around and talk about how the kids were and catch up and that kind of thing. And then halfway through lunch, he said to me, I've been thinking about retiring and I don't know if you've heard or talked much about that, but he said, I'd really like you to give some thought to stepping in and taking over the company. And I was, needless to say, I was pretty stunned that that's what we were having lunch about. So I had to digest that. But then it was interesting because I answered you pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I said, I would be really interested in doing that. And I kind of surprised myself. saying that, because there have been opportunities in my past where I could have stepped into something like this, not like this, but certainly jobs that took me outside of just the filmmaking process.
Well,
So,
it's like for me, I didn't know what she was going to say because she had her own very successful career, her own successful company with her husband, making big movies. She had a very full career, and I didn't know whether she wanted to have a change of life like I did.
I just love the challenge that it suggested.
What advice do you have for Kathy?
Good luck. No, I mean, I don't have to give Kathy advice. She knows what to do. She knows better than I do. So, I mean, that's the best part about this is it's not somebody who I have to explain anything to. I mean, I've worked with Kathy for so many years. I mean, it is, at least like 35 years. Mm-hmm. And, in close producing together, just working together and as friends. And, it's a great relationship. And it's just such a perfect fit because she actually has all the qualities that are necessary to run a company like this that, make it great.
I'm not gonna lie. The whole time I was sitting there, I was thinking, if I could hug Kathleen Kennedy, I would do it for a while. I would just be like, "You are the best person ever." Like you kept it going when George was done. Like you did that. Like I love you. Like you are so special to me, and like you are so awesome. I don't know. Like watching her talk, like that's like becoming the next president. And there's like no end in sight. Like literally, you are like the president of the United States, and you do not have an end term. Like 4 years or 8 years is gonna be when you're done. But she's like still going strong. I don't know. I think she's so awesome. I really do.
She's going really strong and all of that. But I wish George Lucas. I want to see more George Lucas talking like an exasperated father who is like tired of telling his son to stop backing into like the rose garden and stuff, like, because he's in like this, like, I don't have to tell Kathy anything. She's good. It's good. It's good.
Oh man,
I freaking love that guy. It's just that whole thing is just, and I couldn't get out of my head, Scotty, what you had said earlier about them boning or kissing, and so now it's the sexual tension is palpable in that interview.
Eric,
it really feels like they're talking about their marriage or something.
Yeah, you got to realize
like marriage counseling.
When you work with someone one-on-one like that, I mean, Jerry, technically, like I feel like you and I are married to a certain extent.
We are, yeah.
We do.
We're a married couple. Eric is our grown child.
Yes, like for real. Like we do 1/1000th of the work they've ever done, and like I feel like you and I have to figure out these problems and problem solve and hang out and make sure we're on the same page and stuff. Like
we're at least parents. We're at least parents. This is our baby. This is our baby.
Eric, what do you think of all this, bud?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, based off of everything George has said, it makes sense because like Frank Marshall wouldn't have taken it. Steven Spielberg wasn't going to take it. They
weren't business people. You know what I mean? Like maybe Frank is, but like who was the perfect person in line for him? It had to be Kathy.
Yeah. No, I mean, it probably George probably thought about that way before 2012.
Oh, yeah.
So, and George is very non-Hollywood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he's not just going to give it to just like a team of like corporate people. Mm-hmm. He wanted a creative person to be there because George is a creative person. And I guess with her experience of, the Kennedy Marshall Company, he was like, well, maybe this could work. So, yeah.
I didn't think about that. The creative minds instead of being the, how do we make money marketing this, And she has to have that mind too, but there's also a team for that. I mean, she is officially a president in terms of, what she does, what she delegates, She's the one that'll say, this is not working out. We need to get rid of these two goons, Phil Lord, Chris Miller, gone. Then they got replaced with what should have been a veteran director the entire time. You know, you get Ron frickin' Howard, who was perfect for that role to begin with. So it's like these switches had to happen because, I mean, I'm glad to say we haven't seen the Star Wars era yet where they started something and they said, we're cutting it like full on, you know, like the Benioff and Weiss thing was an example, but at least we didn't see any footage of it, you know, like there's a lot of things that haven't happened that way yet. And she's been such a good director so far in terms of a president, in terms of coordinating all this stuff. It's a big role. It's a huge role, you know, but
yeah, I think your last announcement that you're going to hear is that the Rian Johnson trilogy is not happening. I don't think it's happening. Yeah, I think that's your
article's
last.
still up there. The article's still up there, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm starting to lose my hope for it, even though I would love it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it would
absolutely
be,
love it.
It would be just like universally better if he had his own thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think anybody could disagree with that. Like fans, non-fans, it would just be a better fit for him.
Mm-hmm. Do his own thing. I agree.
But I mean, he's going to develop more Knives Out stuff. So I don't know.
I want that. I want more of the Benoit Blanc. Saga,
he's going to keep doing that. So he's probably just like, yeah, forget that. I'm not doing Star Wars. But I could be wrong. Watch the next show they announce is a freaking like murder mystery show with like Hondo Anaka or something.
Dude.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Like Detective Hondo.
Yeah.
Well,
go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
Well, all I was going to say was just, man, the only way I could see him, I just think if he's still a Star Wars fan, because you see that he shared, we're recording this on like midweek. This week, guys. I don't know, not to ruin the magic or anything, but today, like Clayton Sandell dropped like a cool like behind the scenes video for Empire, and he like shared that and was like, "This is so cool." Like he's still a fan, and I think he might be like, "I don't want to do another one because like I have all of these really angry, celibate like necks pulsing with celibate rage in my Twitter mentions." And it's annoying, and I don't want to do another one because they're not gonna like it no matter what. Even if they like it, they're gonna be like, well, Last Jedi still sucks, you know. That's I could just see him being like, because Ryan is a fanboy. He's a fan, so I don't know. I could see him being like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna do my Benioff and Weiss, my Benoit Blanc.
Well, wait, this
mystery.
is kind of cool. Because it ties into what we were just talking about with Brian.
Okay.
This part's about reflecting on the Star Wars phenomena. Like, this is a cool one. I watched this when I was in the shower earlier. So let me get it pulled up. Make sure I shared the audio.
I'm not going to be able to not think about you in the shower now that you've mentioned
you can ask anyone. I watch nothing but YouTube videos in the shower. I literally have a little area I prop it up at. I watch literally behind the scenes of the Attack of the Clones this weekend. Every time I got in the shower, I watched like 15 minutes of it, just bathing. But anyway, let's keep this going.
There's got to be a Beyond the Blast Door show in there somewhere, like shower time YouTube with Scotty.
35 years, and it's just as strong as ever.
Why did everybody ask that? If anybody knew what the answer was, they'd do it.
Yeah. I think
Look at that. Hey, I've never seen that much emotion. This is like sassy. This is like your dad, Eric. This reminds me of Eric
Sassy Lucas.
Just watch his face. Watch.
It's lasted for 35 years, and it's just as strong as ever.
Why did everybody ask that?
I've never seen George make that face. Why don't I ask that? Oh my god! Look at the Vader statue in the back. Looks like Phasma. All right, keep it going.
If anybody knew what the answer was, they'd do it.
Yeah. I think it is hard with things like that.
If anyone knew what the answer was, they'd do it. Duh.
When something
Dummy.
becomes a cultural phenomenon, especially when you're talking about people who grew up with something that affected them, one of the things that's interesting about it is their perspective on that changes. Whatever it is they took with them when they saw it when they were 7 is going to be different than somebody who saw it when they were 20, as opposed to, older or younger. And I think that it's become a part of popular culture. It's become a part of the vernacular. It's got ideas in it that I think are very bonding culturally because they're shared by a generation. You don't ever really know why that happens. That I think is why the word that explains it is phenomenon, because it is a collision of things that you can't necessarily explain that George created that spoke to people. They related to it in some way. It hits something deeper than themselves.
Well, it's based on human behavior, human psychology, mythology, which is the sort of archaeology of human behavior and thinking. And since it has those motifs, it is very universal, and everybody can relate to it.
And there's so many themes of good and evil and friendship and betrayal and all of those things. Why are those things important?
The whole notion of dark and light and the idea that everybody recognizes the choices they make throughout their life can be influenced even within themselves to that degree, that I think that's fascinating. I mean, we're used to seeing stories about heroes where it all ends up being great in the end. Well, that isn't necessarily life. And I think that, again, that's what George explored with the dark and light of aspirational ideas.
It's about good and evil in us, as well as our institution.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the idea that some of us think we're really great people, but in the real world we're not. We're terrible people.
Or you can make bad choices.
Well, you make bad choices, but you run your life in a very selfish way, and you think you're doing good when you're actually not. And at the same time, it's how do democracies turn back into dictatorships? Why do people who have the power to have the freedom and everything turn it over to somebody who's going to take it all away from them? It's happened through history forever and ever, and all Star Wars is a way of updating that idea to say, watch out, because there are people out there who don't play by the rules, and if you're not careful, you're going to lose all your freedom. And at the same time, those people who may not play by the rules because they're selfish and greedy turn themselves into evil people who don't care about other people.
There you go. The essence of Star Wars.
Such an old man way to.
So well studied. He
Dude,
did the Dave
who don't care
Filoni
about
thing.
other people.
But here we go.
There you go. The essence
Playing
of
out
Star
today.
Wars.
That's just how he is. That's awesome.
Why does it feel like the lady that's interviewing them is like Kate McKinnon playing a character on SNL? Like, why does it feel like? It feels like her playing like the character that today I gave my cat 2 baths or something. Like, it just feels like a Kate McKinnon character.
Kathleen Kennedy's like sister. I don't know. It looks just like Kathleen Kennedy.
So really, it just looks like Kate McKinnon in a wig to me. It's we know this or something, like I'm just trying to think of all the Kate McKinnon characters. She just looks like awesome. Kate McKinnon going, yes, are you going to make more nerd movies? Yes, okay.
So that was an interesting one because it was all about the phenomena of Star Wars, obviously.
Yeah.
A huge thing to have to wrap your brain around, but how do you continue that phenomenon? And I really do think the sequel trilogy successfully did it. I mean, I have kids growing up, that are like, I love Rey. I asked literally as students, like, I love The Last Jedi. I love Rise of Skywalker. I'm like, that's y'all. That's the next group,
Right.
I'm getting to see it play out. And they successfully did it, I mean, these kids, let's be real. Let's be real honest here. If they're a diehard Star Wars fan when they grow up like we are, they'll go, oh, George didn't make that one. But kids growing up, they don't know a difference. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know that's not
Star Wars is Star
maker.
Wars to them. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I think Kathleen and the group that made all the sequels really have captured that phenomena again. Obviously, Eric is the first to say that when he saw The Force Awakens, it was a freaking frenzy. It was the most hyped thing ever, right?
Oh yeah. No, I mean, literally nothing has ever touched it. Like maybe Endgame. For me. Yeah. It was to me, Force Awakens alone was a phenomenon that we were like back, and I was buying all these tickets for these people, and we showed up 4 hours early. And
so awesome.
Like the news filmed me running to the theater because we didn't have reserved seats yet in our city.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it was everybody was dressed up in line. Literally, we sat in the theater for 2 hours, and just like that, and the movie was on. Yeah, I mean, I don't even, I agree and disagree with Scott on a level. I think Force Awakens alone was like, holy crap, we are back. Like everything in the Force Awakens sphere, like the press, the lead up, the trailers was like literally perfect.
Oh, dude, I went to Horse Friday too, and that was insane. It was insane.
So
the
good.
first time they ever did that. But anyway, sorry, Eric.
No, you're fine. I'm just Force Awakens. It's awesome.
It was awesome. What
Yeah.
In conclusion,
yeah. Jerry, what was that like for you to know that it was back and they transitioned to that future properly?
it was just kind of crazy. I remember the first year, it was like right before I was following some stuff. Like I would be excited to see stuff for like Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. I was like getting like, Star Wars Insider before Phantom Menace came out, reading those things as much as I could. Like, oh, there's Phantom Menace stuff in there, I remember there was, I think I'm so taken with Sebulba because of a Star Wars Insider interview, and they were talking about, they talked about Sebulba in there. And I, for a long time, have I told you this? I, for a long time, thought that his name was pronounced Sebulba. And I had a buddy that we were like, we were reading that magazine after school. We're like, whoa, yeah. Where'd Eric go?
Oh, no, he went to use the bathroom.
Oh, well, yeah.
Oh,
see, if we were professionals, we wouldn't have even said anything. But now it's just you and me and Rob and George,
Going. But no, that's crazy. I get that.
But what's funny about that, my buddy that I was watching that with, after I saw the movie, he's like, oh, it's Sebulba. He was like, I still like Sebulba better. And I'm like, you're a friggin' idiot, dude. Like, come on.
That's epic. I love it.
Dude, I don't even know. And I've been thinking about, we've been talking about this whole Disney buying Lucasfilm, and we're gonna do Star Wars now, and talking about how we just now are getting all these announcements and stuff where this is what we want, this is what we thought it was gonna be when it first started. Mm-hmm. But we're mentioning a very interesting phenomenon where you had a generation who grew up on the originals. You have us who basically are the prequel generation. I count myself, I'm kind of in between a little. Yeah. But I was again, George Lucas sweet spot, 12 years old right when Phantom Menace came out. Yeah. And there was still a lot of, I remember that before all of that, there was a lot of prequel hate still. Mm-hmm. Even right up until, and I remember, I finally had to just be all right, yeah, I guess they're not as good as the originals. Yeah. Whatever. And you get to this point where now it's the prequels are adored. The prequels are part of Star Wars. People
Mandalorian's honoring them.
Yes, the whole story. Mandalorian is the glue that's holding the canon together for me right now. And that's what these stories are going to be. That's what I'm so excited about them. That's what I'm canon junkie. I'm I want it all to be more cohesive, right? And I think we're going to have that again with they had to do the sequel trilogy. They had to get people over the prequel hate, which is still kind of there, but they had to get they had to go and say, these aren't the prequels, and Force Awakens did that and all that. So here we are now at this interview spawned all this. And this was our dream. Our dream was all of this, that we just got this last week, right? Mm-hmm. Is we are living in Star Wars now. We are inundated. And I mean, were there people talking about was it fatigue? I'm well, not me. I bring it on.
I never, y'all, and Eric, I mean,
I'll take it all.
Have family members that have said that to me, is it too much? How?
Stop worrying. Don't worry.
Maybe
be happy.
It's just me, but I've never thought it's anything too much. Marvel, I mean, yeah, sometimes I'd miss a movie, and that was great because I'd watched it at home. Then I'd understand the full story. If you really feel like it's too much, then pick and choose. That's what they're giving you an option. But when you watch those shows, do not feel left out whenever they're in the Acolyte, they mention Plagueis or something crazy. Right. Or in Rangers, they mention, something insane that happened in Resistance. Or whatever. I mean, that wouldn't be actually, that's not canonically correct. But like you've got to be accepting of that. We're going to get more of it. If you want to sit out, then sit out. But whenever things go over your head, like a lot of people, a lot of Mando stuff have gone over people's heads. Like Ahsoka, obviously, my uncle's like, hey, who was that? My uncle Ricky, Troy's dad, and I'm like, oh, literally at dinner, we're like, we got to tell you all about Ahsoka now. That's Anakin's failed Padawan, blah, blah, all of this crazy stuff. And like, these people are now going to have to get caught up if you want to enjoy the full spectrum of storytelling. It's all there for you. Like it is. Well, it's going to be there for you.
And you don't, that's the beauty of it, is they don't have to.
No,
right?
They don't.
Because this has shown us that like they can just chuck in these characters that a lot of us know about. And we're like, holy shit, that's Bo-Katan.
Maul and then was the greatest one still. To this day, Maul and Solo is insane.
Yes. That one was a little more like off the, to me, I was even like, what?
Yes.
You know? But the way they've been doing it with Mando is like perfect. So it's like, this is going to be like, they can just do whatever they want. I am done with the conversation of it'll be over the typical fans. It'll be over the regular fans' heads.
Not fan service, but to me, that's the one thing I hate. This argument is this is fan service? Fan service to me is like when Finn pulled out the Jedi training ball. Boom. Okay.
Yeah.
Fan service. I liked it. It made me happy for 2 seconds. But to really progress a story that we thought was once over, through and through, Snoke in the tube or what the heck that was in chapter 12, we were like, what? Like, what was that?
If
that
it makes sense in another character's story, if it makes sense for like a big character to come through, all the characters they've put in The Mandalorian have something to do with Mandalore.
Yes.
So I wrote an article on beyondtheblastdoors.com. You can go read it right now on beyondtheblastdoors.com.
Any opinion on this? Because we're going to wrap it a little bit after we watch this next part.
No, I'm just ready for the next part.
All right, here we go. This next one's really interesting. This one's called Transitioning into the Future.
One of the themes of Star Wars is, of course, letting go. And I just wanted to sort of feel how you're feeling right now in passing the torch.
Well, like anything in life, you only go through these kinds of stages. There's just a small number of these kinds of stages in life. Retirement is, filled with a lot of sadness, and at the same time filled with a lot of excitement and exhilaration and starting a new life. And, it's sort of a mix of those kinds of things. It's like when you leave home to go to college. There's like when you get married. There are things that, it's like scary and fun and I'm looking forward to trying new things.
Callie, what are you most excited about?
I would say the same thing. It's funny. I find that it's been interesting with George and I because we've been talking about this for several weeks now as I've started to get to meet people and get to know how the company works and whatnot. And usually at the end of my phone calls with him, I end up saying, so how are you feeling about this? Because he's going through a transition out of the company. I'm going through a transition out of just producing movies into running this company. And so all of my emotions are caught up in new beginnings as he's segueing out. So it is a thing that I think the two of us constantly kind of check in with one another to see, okay, where's the balance? Is the balance happening here? Because I have a tremendous amount to learn from George. There's things that I want to preserve within the spirit of this company. And as it moves into Disney, I think it's vitally important to anything we create that we hold on to the spirit of what started all of this. So I would say that's really important to me.
That's it. I wish there was
Amen.
more to it. I wish there was more to it because it's so good. I would love to have seen that full hour-long discussion they had.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be incredible. But boys, great way to wrap all this up. I'm glad we could do this for 2 hours and hang out and just talk about this because this was a big moment in Star Wars history. And I don't think people realize it, but Eric, you said it the absolute best. What we got literally last Thursday was this dream that we all had back in 2012 completely manifesting. Okay. And I'm sure we all wanted Luke and Han and Leia back, and we got it. And it was really good, actually. And we all wanted its own unique storytelling. But now we're in this really interesting era where they can jump across the timeline, and we don't even know where they're going to go half the time. And we're going to be able to really enjoy all of this together. It's just, that's special. What a great time to be a fan. Like, seriously, y'all. It's amazing. It really is. But
yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, that's the only way to end this conversation is like the old man. Well, we're done. Clap. You know.
No. Any final thoughts, kiddos? Anything you want to add to that, Jerry? Just to kind of tie this nice little bow on this Christmas gift to our fans.
I don't know, man. It is a great time. It's a great time to be a Star Wars fan. It's a great time to be alive for this. And I can't help but think, like, now you're talking about getting Luke, Leia, and Han back, and we did in a way. And you remember going to The Force Awakens, not knowing, like, thinking, okay, Luke Skywalker's going to show up at some point.
Yeah.
In this movie, and not till the end. And just think about that, how no one knew. That was like a huge surprise. That's like a Grogu child level surprise, right?
Yeah.
And just how amazing is it that we've lived through this? Like, just think back to before you even heard think back. That's what I would leave you with. Think back before the announcement. And Eric, you were saying you broke up with you weren't seeing Star Wars regularly, but just joke. We were all still fans. Like, all of us, like, we all still loved it, and like I would watch it every now and then, and I loved it. You know, and I was actually keeping up with Clone Wars and stuff too a little bit. I would get the Blu-ray at the end of the season and just watch through it, like binge it with buddies of mine at college. But I mean, there were other things going on. You know, there was life going on, and then all of a sudden, we had to throw on the brakes because Uncle George just can't let us live a quiet, peaceful life. We have to constantly be throwing our money at him and gladly. I'll say gladly.
Any day of the week. Eric, any final thoughts, my friend?
Yeah, like, just think of how thankful we all should be, and most of us are, especially the three of us here, that this deal happened. Because, like, what would we be doing if
literally,
like, you know, Marvel would still be kicking, right? But, you know, I might
still be married, but I'm joking. I'm sorry.
On me,
please continue.
I don't know if me and Scott would have ever become friends, which is like silly on paper, but like literally,
I guarantee you wouldn't have been friends.
Yeah, y'all would have never met. Yeah.
No.
So I don't know. It's really cool that mad respect to George for, like, you know, having the foresight to know that it would be smarter to give it up and let it continue on without him, and then just end it with his 6 movies and a couple of comics. But how cool is that? That we're like I said in the beginning, we're actually living in the realization of, like, what this deal meant. I remember people were being like, Star Wars will never end, which I don't know if that's necessarily true, but but I mean, for the foreseeable future, it is not over.
Job security too. I mean, you know, like our interests can still keep going on, and you know, that wasn't just the book announcements or the spinoff whatever announcements. We've got a slate now, like, and they said within the next 5 years that we can all really look forward to, and it all stems from this one announcement. Really, right there. It just stems from it. So that
was an announcement like they had an announcement like that there where they were like doing a new trilogy and probably spinoffs and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Except better this time. Like,
yes. And it's going to be received differently. I'm loving this. And I want to thank y'all both for really kind of deep diving this with me, because this is something I was very excited to think about, because this doesn't get discussed, and I don't know why, but this is a huge moment, and not only Star Wars history, but media history. Like, it really was. That investors call, that, like Eric and I talked about, has changed the course of streaming services. It put HBO Max on their ass. Like, it made them look so foolish, and it put Netflix in a whole different realm, whereas Netflix's biggest mistake now, and I think they're seeing it, is the release all at once. Because look how successful Mandalorian, it was announced today, was the most streamed thing of November. And you got to realize this. Disney Plus has barely half the subscribers that Netflix has. So sit on that. We are in this time now.
And it's like, that's the crazy thing is it's released week to week. So every week you got like a boom, we're getting more views. And knowing people like us who do podcasts and even just people like us who are obsessed, we're rewatching the episodes constantly.
Oh yeah.
They're going right now. You can see the laser bolts reflecting on my posters because I just got them playing.
Yeah. But y'all, what a special time. Thank you so much for joining us, Eric. Love having you. Eric, where can we find you again?
On the couch behind Scott.
That's where we want you, man. That's where we want you to be.
Right there. No,
someday we'll all three be on that couch.
Hell yes.
Next year's call, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Boom. Hell yeah, man. We're going to get it. You guys wait. You heard it here first, okay? You heard it here first. Also, real quick, if George Lucas does direct this next episode of The Mandalorian, Scotty, I'll go ahead and say it on air. If we're gonna, were you gonna pitch it? Were you gonna like set it up for me here in a second?
Do it. Just do it.
Okay. Scotty thinks George is gonna direct that next episode. If he does, I will have already shaved my head by the time you're seeing this.
Oh my!
So I honestly don't know why, but yeah. So if he does, then you guys will. The next episode, I will be like bald. Okay. All right.
We'll see.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It happened last night. If he did. So.
Oh, it'd be
here
amazing.
we go.
Look. You know, you can always find us at Beyond the Black. If you've really enjoyed this, please go support our Patreon. Of course, $5 a month can get you all kind of exclusive content from me and Jerry and everyone on the network. Also, if you liked listening to this, review us on iTunes, app, our podcast page, whatever it's called. Give us 5 stars. And by all means, Eric, what should the wonderful people do?
One announcement. Next week, Scotty has something very exciting to share with the viewers.
Oh,
is this just a sizzle?
Stay Bombad!